Frank Reich was fired by the Carolina Panthers after going 1-10 in his first year with Bryce Young. Very, very unfortunate. Hindsight on it, it looked like it wasn't going to work out for Frank Reich. Again, he goes 1-10 with the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young after they traded the house to go get him. It's the second time in the last 2 head coaching jobs that Frank Reich has been fired. He's the first coach since 1970 to have it happen in back-to-back coaching tenures. And we heard the reports when Frank Reich came out, or when Frank Reich was going for Bryce Young, or when Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud, and the owner David Tepper wanted Bryce Young. When those types of things happen, it's going to cause discourse, because if your owner, GM, head coach, and quarterback are not on the same page, it's going to be really hard to have sustainable success in this league and to go on and win a championship. And it just goes to show you that Bryce Young should not have been the number 1 overall pick. Now, do I believe CJ Stroud would be looking a lot better than Bryce Young? I'm not going to go that far to say that, because who's Bryce Young throwing to? I mean, Adam Thielen and Hayden Hurst, who feels like they've just fallen off the face of the earth. You know, CMC's gotten out of there in the last couple of years. DJ Moore got out of there. And CJ's doing so well with the Texans because they have guys on the defensive side of the ball to help him out. And they also have weapons in a Tank Dell and a John Mechie and a Robert Woods and a Dalton Schultz and a Damian Pierce. D'Amico Ryans and that staff have done an excellent job at setting CJ Stroud up for success. And D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded head coach. Frank Reich's supposed to be that guy that comes in and makes things happen. We see it, though. This is the second year in a row that David Tepper has fired his head coach mid-season. All of the people are, all the reports are talking about how he's a very, very impatient owner. Matt Rule got fired last year after starting 1-4. By the end of this season, David Tepper will have had an interim coach for nearly a quarter of the games as him being owner since 2018. And I actually looked into David Tepper a little bit. He's a professional hedge fund manager. He owns a very, very large company. He's worth like $21 billion. He bought the Panthers back in 2018 for, I think, about $3.75 billion, a little over $3 billion, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a businessman. He gets down and he jives with money, right? Oops, connection is lost. Reconnecting. Oh no. Oh no, I hope we're good. Y'all get in the chat. Let me know how the connection is, please. I really hope that we still have our connection up on the. Are we back? I think we're back. It said I was losing connection, then it looked like it's popped us back in. If y'all are in the chat, comment. Let me know how the connection looks. I'm getting on YouTube real quick to see how the show's playing out. I'm a Nazi about just how things play out with the show and everything. 711 subs. Oof. Hi. Okay, cool. Okay, whatever. Just making sure we were good. Thanks, Darby. Appreciate you. Thanks for the 2 subs that have also jumped in. We're now at 711. That's probably what happens when I'm not paying attention. The connection loses and then just bounces back. That's the first time I've ever looked at it, though. Darby and Trav, appreciate you guys for letting me know that we're good. But David Tepper, he's a businessman. He owns a major hedge fund worth $21 billion. And a former Panther staffer said this about him. His thing is, the minute it gets bad, it's going to get worse, so we better try something else. He's a hedge fund guy. That's what hedge fund guys do. The second something stops earning money, they make their money out of it. They take their money out of it, take the profit, and move on to something else. He doesn't care about the money. He looks at it like a stock. You make a poor investment, there's a sunk cost, boom, you move on. And that just has really summed up what it's been for David Tepper and the Panthers ever since he's taken over. And the recipe for success in the NFL is a good owner, GM, coach, and quarterback. If those guys are not on the same page, it's going to be a hard recipe for success, especially with that team. So when Frank Reich was first hired, I can't say I saw this coming because, I thought he would have been better than this. think everybody thought it was going to be better than this, but he was brought in for his offensive mind. Of course, he was the OC for the Eagles the year that they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. The Panthers offense did not work well, though. We saw that they were 30th in the NFL in total offense and pass yards per game. They were the fourth worst points per game in the NFL, not even putting up 16 points per game. He had a 40-33-1 record and took the Colts to the playoffs twice, but we saw the culture and the team erode, in his last two seasons in Indy. We saw the quarterback instability after Andrew Luck retired between, Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Sam Ellinger. And, they pissed away the playoffs in one of those years, too, when they had a 98% chance to go to the playoffs with 2 games remaining. They piss down their leg and they go and lose 26-11 to the 2-14 Jacksonville Jaguars at the time. But, hindsight, guy didn't even take a year off from the game before jumping right back into the dumpster fire. That was Carolina. David Tepper has bought this team in 2018, and they are 30-63 in that time frame. The only worst team is the New York Jets. Frank Reich was fired after the offense produced 15 or fewer points for the 5th straight week and the 7th time in 11 games. The offense only produced 10 points in each of the past 2 games after Reich claimed the play calling duties from his OC only 3 games after he turned them over to the guy, or not his OC, but Brown. And then he went and got them back shortly after he turned it over. So there was just a lot of indecision, a lot of inconsistency with Frank Reich. And, I feel bad for Frank Reich because he didn't land in a great situation, but he also signed his name on that dotted line to, be that head coach. He signed his name on that dotted line to be that head coach for the Carolina Panthers. So, this is what he was going to have to put up with. But Bryce Young's rookie season, his career has been rough already. It has started rough. The head coach and the quarterback coach being fired midseason in his rookie year, not looking like the number 1 overall pick, having no talent around him, having one of the worst rosters in the NFL, having the most impatient owner in the NFL. Carolina is now technically on their 5th head coach since Ron Rivera was fired in 2019. 2 of those coaches being interims. We have the interim coach now, and then, of course, Steve Wilkes, who was the interim coach last year after Matt Rule was fired. So it's just been a tough stretch for the Panthers. It really has. And I didn't realize that Carolina was that bad under David Tepper's ownership, but they have been pretty lost since the Super Bowl. I mean, they really have. They went to the Super Bowl the year before Atlanta did, and really Carolina and Atlanta have been trying to find their legs ever since that time. And Frank Reich said that, he thought he would hang it up in the NFL. He thought that was going to be the end of his NFL career. I hope it's not. I don't think it will be, because Frank Reich is a very respected guy in this league, and he is a really good offensive mind. Again, we saw him, get double-digit wins, 10 and 11 wins with the Colts in a couple of years, AFC wildcard game, AFC divisional game. He had his franchise quarterback abruptly retire, so much to the point where the fan base was asking for their season ticket money back. I mean, that was brutal. That's how much Andrew Luck meant to them. So I don't want to, drag him for the quarterback instability, but the NFL is a "what have you done for me lately" league, and 2 straight years after being fired, mid-season as a coach, it's tough. It's very tough. But I think Frank Reich could get another job in this league. He might take some time, maybe take a year off, maybe 2 years off. Just get your head straight. Yeah, Packers loss still pisses me off too. We barely beat the Panthers. Yeah, bro. That's how bad the Saints are. The Saints have a 5-6 record, but they damn sure play like a 2-4 win football team. And that hurts to say, bro, as I've got these 2 jerseys to, y'all's right, my left. But yeah, it's tough, guys. I appreciate the Houdat Nation getting all in the chat as well. I'm worried about Bryce Young's career, though. I really am, because starting out this way in a really bad franchise after what Bryce Young did at Alabama, it's tough. And, again, I didn't think Bryce Young was the number 1 overall pick. I didn't think Bryce Young was the best player in the draft. I didn't think Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the draft. CJ Stroud was my QB1 coming in, especially with the bigger size. Just thought he was a lot better player, more accurate. I understand being in Alabama can jade a lot of people, and we haven't seen an Ohio State quarterback play like this really ever, especially in recent memory. So, you take the yin with the yang, but definitely a lesson learned, as CJ Stroud should have been that number 1 pick. That's who Frank Reich wanted. We even hear now that Josh McDaniels did not sign off on a trade for the Raiders to move up and get CJ Stroud. I bet you CJ Stroud is happy as hell that he did not go to the Las Vegas Raiders.